Her daughter vanished 40 years ago. What she found in an old box broke her heart. Welcome back and enjoy the story. Denise never stopped setting the table for two. Even after 4 decades, she would lay out her plate, and across the table, a second one. Smaller, faded, once pink with daisies, now just white porcelain. She knew her neighbors whispered behind her back. She still thinks the girl's coming home? She lost her mind long ago. But Denise didn't care. They hadn't held that tiny girl in their arms. They hadn't kissed her curls goodnight. They hadn't stood in the street screaming her name while the world carried on, cold and indifferent. It was 1985 when her daughter Donna vanished. Only 6 years old, she had been playing in the garden when Denise stepped inside for a moment. Just one moment. When she returned, silence. The swing was still swaying. Her daughter's shoes were by the flower bed. But Donna was gone. The search lasted weeks, months, then years. Police filed it away under unresolved. Friends stopped calling. Even her husband, broken and hopeless, left. But Denise stayed, in the same house, with the same hope. She kept Donna's bedroom exactly as it was, the toys, the drawings, even her tiny sweater draped over the chair. Every birthday, Denise baked a cake. Every year, she sat by the window watching the street, praying. People told her to let go. But how does a mother let go of her heart? If you are enjoying the story, type 5 in the comments and subscribe for more videos like this. If not, type 0. It helps me create even better content for you. Continuing. The Chicago winters were always the hardest. Denise would sit by the radiator in Donna's room, watching snowflakes dance outside the window, wondering if her daughter was somewhere warm. Was she safe? Was she even alive? The questions tormented her every night. Denise had developed rituals over the years, small acts of preservation that kept Donna alive in her world. She washed her daughter's clothes every spring, carefully hanging them back in the closet, though they'd never been worn again. She dusted the collection of porcelain dolls that lined the shelves, arranging them exactly as Donna had left them. And every Christmas, she hung a new ornament on the tree, marked with the year and for Donna. The tree was crowded now, 40, ornaments weighing down its branches, like the grief that weighed on Denise's heart. Detective Morrison was the only one who still checked in. He'd been a young officer when Donna disappeared, haunted by his first missing child case. Now his hair was grey, his face lined with years of witnessing human tragedy, but he never forgot. "Any news?" Denise would ask when he visited, knowing the answer before he shook his head. "Not yet," he'd say, the same words for 40 years. But he kept coming back, bringing coffee and sitting with her at the table set for 2. He was the only one who didn't tell her to move on, the only one who understood that some wounds never heal. They just become part of who you are. One spring morning, Denise received a letter from her sister, Margaret, in Detroit. "It's time to sell the house," she wrote. "You need to start over somewhere new. Donna wouldn't want you living like this forever." Denise crumpled the letter in her fist. How dare Margaret presume to know what Donna would want? The thought of leaving this house, the last place Donna had been, sent Denise into a panic attack so severe that she collapsed on the kitchen floor, clutching her chest and gasping for air. When she recovered, she made a decision. She would clean out some of Donna's things, not all, just enough to show Margaret that she wasn't completely lost in the past. Perhaps donating a few toys, packing away some clothes. It would be a compromise. Will Denise ever find peace, or is she destined to spend the rest of her life waiting for a ghost? And what secrets might be hiding in the forgotten corners of the house she's been afraid to disturb? So Denise began the painful task of sorting through her daughter's belongings. Each item held a memory. The red mittens Donna wore on their trip to the zoo, the picture book they read together every night, the hairbrush with strands of Donna's golden hair still tangled in the bristles. She worked slowly, methodically, selecting a few stuffed animals to donate to the children's hospital. It felt like betrayal, but she forced herself to continue. The afternoon light was fading when Denise noticed the attic door ajar. Strange, she rarely went up there. The pull-down ladder was old and rickety, and her arthritis made climbing difficult, but something compelled her to investigate. The attic was dusty and dim, filled with boxes of holiday decorations and old furniture draped in sheets like ghosts. Denise hadn't been up here in years. Too many memories layered like the dust on the floorboards. She moved cautiously through the narrow space, her flashlight beam cutting through the gloom. That's when she noticed it. A cardboard box tucked beneath the eaves, partially hidden behind an old dresser. It wasn't labeled like her other storage boxes. In fact, she didn't recognize it at all. The tape sealing it was yellowed and brittle, with age. With trembling hands, Denise pulled the box into the center of the attic. It was heavier than she expected. Her heart raced as she peeled away the tape, unsure what she might find. As the flaps opened, dust motes danced in the beam of her flashlight. Inside were children's drawings, not Donna's style, but similar, the kind only small hands could make. Beneath them, letters, dozens of them, bound with faded ribbon. They were addressed to her. To Mommy. For Denise. She blinked in disbelief, her breath catching in her throat. Have you ever found something unexpected that changed everything you thought you knew? Something that made you question your own memories? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. Each letter had the same handwriting, evolving over the years. The first ones were childish scribbles. I miss you. I have a cat now. Are you mad at me? Later letters became clearer. I'm in school now. I wish you were here. They say I should call her Mom, but she's not you. I saw someone today who looked like you. I cried all afternoon. Denise collapsed onto an old trunk, her legs no longer able to support her. For 40 years, she had believed Donna had been stolen, perhaps worse. Now, in her shaking hands, was proof her daughter had lived, had written, had remembered her. At the bottom of the box was a photograph, a girl, about 16, with Denise's eyes and a guarded smile, and behind it a note. I hope this reaches you someday. I think she's going to send it. The return address was from Canada. The postmark was 25 years old. Denise clutched the photo to her chest, sobs racking her body as decades of uncertainty crystallized into a new, painful truth. Donna hadn't just disappeared. She had been somewhere all this time, thinking of her mother, writing letters that never arrived. Denise barely remembered descending the attic ladder. She spent the night at her kitchen table, the one always set for 2, reading every letter by lamplight. The story they told was heartbreaking. Donna described being taken by a woman who told her Denise didn't want her anymore, being driven far away to live with a couple who couldn't have children of their own. The confusion, the grief, the gradual acceptance of a new life, but never forgetting her real mother. The letters spanned years, from age 6 to 22, and then they stopped. Why? Had Donna given up? Or had something happened to her? The next morning, Denise called Detective Morrison. His shock matched her own as he examined the letters and the photograph. This changes everything, he said, his voice hoarse with emotion. This is evidence of abduction, Denise, and the statute of limitations doesn't apply. He made calls immediately, reactivating the case that had haunted his career. Modern databases, international cooperation, DNA registries, tools that hadn't existed 40 years ago were now at their disposal. The wheels of justice, so long stalled, began to turn again. What had happened to Donna after her last letter? And who had hidden this box in Denise's attic? The answers would shock even Detective Morrison, whose 30 years on the force hadn't prepared him for what they were about to discover. The woman who had taken Donna was identified through old employment records at a Chicago daycare center. Ellen Matthews, now living in a nursing home in Quebec. She had never married or had children of her own. When confronted with the evidence, the old woman confessed immediately, as if relieved to finally unburden herself. "I did a terrible thing," she told Morrison via video call, tears streaming down her wrinkled face. "I was desperate and selfish. I saw this beautiful little girl playing alone, and something broke inside me." Ellen had taken Donna across the border to a childless couple who had paid her handsomely for a private adoption. They had moved frequently, changing Donna's name to Elizabeth, raising her in isolated rural communities. Denise listened to the confession in Morrison's office, her face ashen but composed. "Where is she now?" she asked, the only question that mattered. Ellen didn't know. The adoptive parents had discovered Donna's letters when she was 22 and had forbidden her from writing anymore. Shortly after, Donna had run away. Ellen had collected the letters from the adoptive parents years later, intending to return them to Denise as a deathbed confession. She had broken into Denise's house 5 years ago to leave them, but lost her nerve and hid them in the attic instead. "I'm so sorry," Ellen wept. "I ruined so many lives." Finding Donna now seemed impossible. She would be 46, possibly, living under a different name, perhaps in another country. But Morrison refused to give up. He enlisted a non-profit organization specializing in reuniting families separated by abduction or adoption. They created a file with Donna's DNA profile from items preserved in her bedroom and entered it into international databases. They traced the adoptive parents, both deceased, and searched their records. They posted age-progressed images of Donna online, along with Denise's story. Will this mother's unwavering love be enough to bring her daughter home after 40 years of separation? Or has fate written a different ending to their story? Months passed with no leads. Denise continued to set the table for two, but now she read Donna's letters aloud during meals, finally hearing her daughter's voice after all these years. It was both healing and heartbreaking. Then, on a rainy Tuesday in October, Morrison called. "We found her," he said, his voice breaking. "Denise, we found Donna." She was living in Vancouver under the name Elizabeth Parker. She was married with 2 teenage children, and she had been searching for her mother too, filing her DNA with ancestry websites, hoping for a match. The reunion was arranged at a private room in Chicago O'Hare Airport. Denise arrived hours early, unable to stay home a minute longer. She brought the photo from the box, the last image she had of her daughter as a teenager. She sat rigidly in a chair, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were white. What if Donna didn't recognize her? What if she was angry about all the lost years? What if this was all a cruel mistake? The door opened, and Denise rose unsteadily. To her feet, the woman who entered was tall and slender, with honey-blonde hair streaked with grey. She moved cautiously, her eyes, Denise's eyes, scanning the room until they locked on her mother's face. For a moment, neither moved. 40 years of separation stretched between them like an impossible chasm. Then Donna took a step forward, clutching a worn teddy bear that Denise recognized instantly. It was Mr. Buttons, the toy she'd given Donna on her 4th birthday. Somehow, through everything, Donna had kept him. "Mom," she whispered, her voice trembling. Denise opened her arms, and suddenly they were holding each other, sobbing and laughing at the same time. "You didn't forget me," Donna said, her words muffled against Denise's shoulder. "I never could," Denise replied, stroking her daughter's hair as she had done when Donna was small. They talked for hours. Donna, who still thought of herself as Elizabeth after so many years, explained how she had escaped her adoptive parents, controlling household at 22. She had made her way to Vancouver, worked multiple jobs to put herself through community college, and eventually built a life there. She had married a kind man named Thomas, who supported her search for her birth mother. Their children, a boy and a girl, 16 and 14, were waiting at a hotel nearby, nervous about meeting the grandmother they'd only just learned about. "They have your smile," Donna told Denise, showing her photos on her phone. "And your stubborn streak. Congratulations, type 9 in the comments so that I know you stayed until the end with me. Thank you for watching, and until tomorrow's story on this same channel."